Hi, subscribe to the channel, put a like and write a comment. Have a good day. In the journey of success, there is a law as unyielding as gravity and as powerful as the rising sun, the law of increasing returns. This law states that the effort you invest today, the service you render willingly, and the extra value you provide will return to you multiplied often in ways and at times you least expect. Most people think of reward in linear terms. They imagine that if they give a dollar's worth of work, they'll receive a dollar's worth of reward. But life, especially in the world of personal achievement and salesmanship, doesn't work that way. The universe responds to initiative, to creativity, to the willingness to do more than is required, not with equal payment, but with exponential returns. Let's be clear. The law of increasing returns doesn't guarantee instant gratification. Sometimes you may feel as though your extra efforts go unnoticed or unrewarded. There will be days when you work harder than anyone else, give more than is asked, and receive little thanks in return, but do not be discouraged. Every act of service, every honest effort, every seed you plant in the field of opportunity is an investment that will pay dividends if you persist. Consider the farmer who sows more seed than his neighbor. At harvest time, he does not reap just a little more, he reaps much more, for every healthy plant produces seeds of its own. The same principle applies to every field of human endeavor. The salesperson who makes one more call, the leader who gives one more word of encouragement, the entrepreneur who solves one more problem each, is building a foundation for rewards that multiply over time. Why does this law work? Because going the extra mile sets forces in motion, forces of goodwill, reputation, skill, and connection. People remember those who do more than expected. Opportunities flow to those who serve without keeping score. Over time, doors open, trust deepens, and new paths appear that would never have revealed themselves to the one who simply did the minimum. The law of increasing returns is also a test of character. Anyone can do what is required when others are watching. But those who consistently exceed expectations, even when there is no immediate payoff, demonstrate the integrity and discipline that mark true leaders. They are not motivated only by the promise of reward, but by the joy of service and the pride of a job well done. Let's not confuse more with busyness. The extra mile is not about working yourself to exhaustion or doing more for the sake of more. It is about quality, about putting thought, care, and heart into your actions. It is about noticing what others miss, solving problems before they become crises, and giving a little extra simply because you can. As you begin to practice the law of increasing returns, expect resistance. Some may not understand your motivation. Others may take your extra efforts for granted, but do not let this deter you. You are not working for their approval. You are investing in your own future, building a reputation, and laying the groundwork for rewards that only persistence can unlock. So, serve with enthusiasm, give with a full heart, plant your seeds and tend your field, knowing that every extra effort is a down payment on a future filled with abundance. Trust the law. In time, you will discover that what you give comes back to you not just in equal measure, but multiplied, overflowing, and often in the most surprising ways. When you begin to live by the law of increasing returns, you become an architect of your own destiny. Each day, you make a choice to do only what's asked of you, or to deliver something more, to add an extra touch, a new idea, a word of encouragement, or a gesture of generosity. These choices, small in the moment, accumulate into a legacy that grows larger than you can imagine. Most people wait for opportunity to knock, but those who understand this law know that you must build the door yourself. You build it by showing up early, staying late, and caring more than the world expects. You build it by making yourself indispensable not through grand gestures, but through a steady stream of honest effort. It's in the follow-up call, the thoughtful email, the offer to help a colleague, or the extra attention you give a client's unique needs. This is the path to true influence. When others know they can count on you for more than the bare minimum, your reputation spreads quietly but powerfully. Colleagues trust you, clients return, and your circle of influence widens. New opportunities flow your way not as accidents, but as the natural result of your willingness to exceed expectations. The law of increasing returns also transforms your mindset. Instead of focusing on what you can get, you focus on what you can give. You become less concerned with short-term payoffs and more invested in long-term growth. You start to measure your success not just by the rewards you receive, but by the value you create and the lives you touch along the way. This shift in perspective brings unexpected joy. When you go the extra mile, you create meaning in your work. Tasks become opportunities for creativity. Challenges become invitations to innovate. Even setbacks are reframed not as failures, but as lessons that deepen your character and sharpen your skills. But let's be honest, the extra mile is rarely crowded. Many will tell you to slow down, to protect your energy, to avoid giving away too much. And yes, there is wisdom in balance and self-care. But the spirit of this law is not self-sacrifice, it is abundance. When you operate from a place of abundance, you know that giving more does not diminish you. It multiplies you. You realize that the more you give, the more you have to give. One of the miracles of the law of increasing returns is its ability to generate momentum. Each act of extra effort creates ripples, sometimes immediately, sometimes over years. A single gesture today can blossom into an opportunity, a relationship, or a breakthrough tomorrow. You can never predict exactly when or how the return will come, but you can trust that it will come. So, as you move forward, keep asking yourself, how can I add value? Where can I offer a little more? Listen for the needs unspoken. Look for the problems unaddressed, and act before you are asked. In doing so, you set yourself apart not just in business, but in every area of life. As you make the law of increasing returns your guiding principle, you'll discover a world that responds generously to those who serve generously. Doors will open, rewards will multiply, and you'll find yourself surrounded by opportunities you once thought were out of reach because you chose every day to give more than you receive. When you practice the law of increasing returns, you begin to recognize opportunity where others see routine. Mundane tasks become gateways to greatness because you approach them with a spirit of excellence. It's not about waiting for the big break, but about giving your best in the smallest details, trusting that these seeds will one day yield a harvest you can't yet imagine. Let's look at the transformation that occurs within you. As you make a habit of delivering more than expected, you build self-respect. You know deep down that your reputation isn't just what others say, it's what you prove to yourself day after day. This confidence radiates outward. People sense your integrity and are drawn to work with you, refer you, and support your ambitions. The law of increasing returns is also a silent teacher of patience. The rewards don't always arrive on your schedule. Sometimes your efforts seem to vanish into thin air. But over time, you'll notice a curious phenomenon. The universe has a way of rewarding those who persist. A call comes out of the blue. An old client returns with a referral. A door you knocked on months ago finally opens. The law works not always on your timeline, but always with certainty. There is an element of faith in this process. You must trust that every honest effort, every thoughtful gesture is a deposit in your future bank of opportunity. Even when no one is watching, even when recognition is delayed, the habit of doing more than required is its own reward. You feel pride, not just in the outcome, but in the person you are becoming. This law also changes your relationship to competition. Instead of worrying about what others are doing, you focus on your own standard. The extra mile is where competition fades and creation begins. You become your own benchmark, measuring progress not by comparison, but by the ever-rising quality of your work and service. As you consistently give more, your skills grow. You learn to anticipate needs, to see around corners, to solve problems before they're visible to others. You develop a sixth sense for opportunity. This proactive mindset sets you apart from those who only react. The world rewards initiators, those who serve with foresight and creativity. Let's not forget the impact on those around you. When you raise your standard, you give others permission to do the same. Teams become stronger, organizations more resilient, and families more united. Your example becomes a catalyst for collective success. Of course, this path is not always easy. There will be times when your efforts are overlooked, when your enthusiasm is misunderstood, or when the reward seems slow to appear. But remember, the law is always at work. Sometimes, the greatest return is the growth you experience within the transformation from someone who waits for opportunity to someone who creates it. So as you continue to walk this path, do it with faith, with joy, and with the knowledge that the law of increasing returns is your ally. Every day you give more than you receive. You move closer to a future rich with possibility, a future you shape, one extra effort at a time. The journey of those who practice the law of increasing returns is marked by a quiet, consistent greatness. Their names may not make headlines overnight, but over time, they become the trusted pillars of every community, every organization, every circle of influence they touch. The world may not reward every single act immediately, but it never fails to recognize those who make excellence a habit. Every time you give more than is expected, you invest not only in your future, but in the collective future of those around you. Your actions send a message. This is the standard. Here, we do more. Here, we care. You become the person others rely on when challenges arise, the one whose word carries weight, whose service inspires loyalty, and whose efforts uplift the entire group. The law of increasing returns also invites you to reimagine setbacks. When your extra effort goes unnoticed or unappreciated, you might be tempted to dial back, to do just enough. But this is the test every true leader faces. Will you hold your standard even when applause is absent? Will you keep sowing even when the harvest is delayed? The greatest rewards often arrive just beyond the point where others give up. Think about the compound effect of this law. One act of extra service inspires another. One gesture of kindness is remembered and passed on. Over months and years, these moments accumulate, forming relationships, building reputations, and opening doors that would remain shut to those who wait for the world to notice first. You create a web of goodwill, a bank of positive energy and opportunity that, when you need it most, finds its way back to you in unexpected forms. The law of increasing returns is also a lesson in humility. When you serve with no guarantee of immediate reward, you detach from outcomes and focus on process. You do what's right because it's right, not just because it's profitable. This mindset frees you from disappointment and fills your days with purpose, even during lean seasons. And let's be honest, the extra mile is often a solitary path. Not everyone will understand your drive. Some may take advantage, some may envy, and some may even doubt your motives, but stand firm. Your consistency is your signature, your invisible handshake with the future. Over time, even the skeptics become believers as the evidence of your results grows too powerful to ignore. The world is hungry for people who do more, care more, and give more. These are the individuals who shape organizations, lift teams, and create families where trust and generosity are the norm. If you want to lead, to inspire, to create a life of abundance, make the law of increasing returns your way of being, not just your way of working. So today, recommit to the standard you've set. Give that extra thought, that extra minute, that extra measure of kindness, especially when you think no one is watching. Know that every seed you plant, every effort you give, is contributing to a harvest that will one day exceed your highest expectations. With each step, you become not just a beneficiary of the law, but a living example of its power. Embracing the law of increasing returns does more than build a reputation. It reshapes your identity from the inside out. You begin to see yourself as someone who contributes value in every interaction, regardless of recognition or reward. This shift transforms the way you approach work, relationships, and even your own dreams. The world responds to those who serve with genuine intent. And over time, your life becomes proof that extraordinary results grow from ordinary moments handled with care. Notice how your own self-worth expands as you consistently deliver more than required. You are no longer satisfied with average because you've discovered the pride that comes from excellence. Mediocrity loses its comfort, and you become restless to create, to improve, to leave a mark. Every time you go beyond the minimum, you add a new layer to your character, strengthening your resolve and sharpening your purpose. The law of increasing returns also fosters a mindset of abundance. Rather than worrying about what you might lose by giving a little extra, you begin to see that generosity always multiplies. You realize that true wealth is not just measured by money, but by the relationships, trust, and opportunities you gather through a spirit of service. The more you invest in others, the more the world finds ways to invest in you. Let's talk about momentum. Once you make the extra mile your default setting, something remarkable happens. Progress accelerates. Small wins build into big victories. People begin to seek you out not just for your skill, but for your reliability and your willingness to solve problems before they become crises. Doors open that once seemed closed, and you gain access to networks, resources, and ideas that eluded you when you did only what was expected. Resilience is another gift of this law. When setbacks command, they will, you are less shaken, because you know your value is not tied to any single outcome. The consistent effort you've invested becomes your anchor. You've seen the fruits of patience and persistence, and you trust that another opportunity, another return is always in motion, even if unseen for now. But perhaps the greatest reward is the sense of purpose that infuses your daily life. When you live to give, every action becomes meaningful. Even routine tasks become expressions of your highest values. You build a legacy not just of success, but of significance. People remember how you made them feel, how you delivered more than promised, how you left every situation better than you found it. So, let this law be your compass. Use it to guide your choices, your interactions, and your goals. Every time you choose to go beyond, you reinforce the habits that create lasting success. And as you look back over the years, you'll realize that the biggest returns did not come from grand gestures, but from small acts of excellence, repeated with love and persistence. Embrace the law of increasing returns and become the person whose impact is felt long after the moment has passed. That is how legacies are built and how livers and others are truly transformed. As you deepen your commitment to the law of increasing returns, you begin to notice a subtle transformation in your surroundings. People treat you differently. Colleagues, clients, even competitors respond to the energy you bring, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you always leave things better than you found them. Over time, you become the person others turn to when it matters most, not simply because of your skills, but because of your reputation for reliability and heart. This principle doesn't only change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. You begin to trust your own word, rely on your own initiative, and walk through challenges with the assurance that, no matter the short-term outcome, your long-term rewards are compounding quietly beneath the surface. There is power in this kind of integrity. It allows you to take bold actions, make tough decisions, and weather disappointments without losing your sense of self-worth. Living by the law of increasing returns also sharpens your awareness of opportunity. Where others see dead ends, you see starting lines. When faced with adversity, you ask, how can I contribute here? What's the extra value I can provide? This mindset transforms obstacles into openings, frustrations into fuel, and setbacks into setups for your next leap forward. The law teaches you to become proactive, not reactive. You anticipate needs before they're spoken, solve problems before they escalate, and deliver excellence before it's demanded. This level of service cannot be faked. It's a reflection of an internal standard that grows stronger with every act of going beyond. Let's talk about the ripple effect. Each time you serve more than expected, you send a message to everyone around you. Your actions inspire others to match your commitment, and soon, what began as your personal philosophy starts to reshape your environment. Teams become more supportive, organizations more innovative, and entire cultures can shift toward abundance when one person consistently models the law of increasing returns. It's important to remember, though, that results rarely follow a straight line. There will be seasons where it seems your extra effort goes unnoticed, where returns are delayed or invisible. These are the moments that separate the true believer from the fair weather fan. Stay the course. History shows that the greatest rewards are reserved for those who persist long after others have stopped trying. This law also asks you to reflect on your legacy. What do you want to be remembered for? The size of your paycheck or the size of your impact? The answer is written not in grand achievements, but in the daily habit of exceeding expectations, serving generously, and showing up with unwavering integrity. As you live out this principle, you'll find that you attract opportunities, relationships, and success that seem almost magical to others. But you'll know the truth. There is nothing magical about it. It's the compound effect of consistent, heartfelt effort of always giving more than you receive. So, keep planting seeds of service. Trust the law. And know that, in the fullness of time, your rewards will not just be greater, they will be multiplied beyond anything you could have achieved by holding back or playing small. As your journey continues with the law of increasing returns, you'll realize that the greatest rewards are often those you didn't expect. The help you gave to a stranger years ago returns in the form of a new opportunity. The project where you went the extra mile leads, months later, to an offer or a friendship you never could have predicted. Life, it turns out, is always keeping score, but not in the way most people think. Many operate under the illusion that success comes from luck, connections, or mere talent. But the most enduring form of success springs from the habits you build, the value you add, and the goodwill you generate, quietly, every day. When you serve more, you expand your sphere of influence. People remember. They talk. They share your name, your story, and your reputation becomes a magnet for abundance. This principle also builds resilience. There will always be setbacks, clients who never say thank you, projects that fall through, efforts that seem to vanish into thin air. But when you know you have consistently given your best, disappointment loses its sting. You understand that every extra effort is a seed, and some seeds take longer than others to bear fruit. Patience, in this context, is not just a virtue, it's a requirement. Let's reflect on the environment you create. The law of increasing returns turns workplaces into communities and transactions into relationships. When you give more, others feel compelled to reciprocate. Teams become more collaborative, clients become more loyal, and families grow stronger. The ripple effect goes far beyond any one deal or event. It shapes culture, lifts morale, and inspires new standards of excellence. Living this way also makes you a leader in the truest sense. You don't have to hold a title or an office. By modeling the habit of exceeding expectations, you set a new norm that draws others upward. You become the standard bearer, the example others cite when they talk about what's possible. It's important to remain authentic. The law of increasing returns is not about self-promotion or calculated giving. If you serve only to be seen or rewarded, the spirit of the law is lost, and so is its power. True abundance flows from sincerity, a genuine desire to help, to solve, to uplift, to improve. When you give from the heart, the world answers in kind, often in ways you could never predict. Remember also to celebrate your progress. Each time you go beyond, take a moment to acknowledge your own growth. These victories, however small, add up over time, reinforcing your commitment and giving you the energy to persist. So keep living by this law. Each day ask, how can I give more? Where can I leave a mark? The answers may surprise you, and the rewards, when they come, will exceed anything you imagined when you first began this journey. The law of increasing returns, once a principle, becomes a way of life. And that life, in the end, is one of ever-expanding value, purpose, and joy. As you live out the law of increasing returns, you begin to view every interaction as an opportunity not just to transact, but to transform. Each encounter, no matter how brief, is a chance to offer something extra. A kind word, a thoughtful solution, a gesture of patience or respect. Over time, these seemingly small actions compound into a force for good, both in your own life and in the world around you. Consider how this principle changes your relationship with adversity. Instead of shrinking from challenges, you step forward asking, how can I contribute here? You become the person who brings solutions, not excuses, energy, not complaints. People begin to see you as a problem solver, a source of encouragement, and a leader in any environment. This reputation becomes your invisible capital and asset, more valuable than money or connections. The law of increasing returns also teaches you the power of anticipation. When you anticipate needs before they arise, you create a sense of trust and security. Clients, colleagues, and friends come to rely on you, not just for what you do, but for who you are. You become irreplaceable not by doing more tasks, but by doing what matters most, with excellence and heart. It's important to remember that the returns you receive are rarely immediate. The universe keeps its own schedule. Some seeds you plant today may take years to blossom, but the cumulative effect is undeniable. Suddenly, doors open, allies appear, and opportunities multiply in ways that defy logic or prediction. You realize that every act of service was not just a gift to others, but an investment in your own future. Generosity becomes your default response. You no longer worry about losing by giving too much because you've experienced firsthand how abundance grows from the willingness to serve. The more you pour into others, your time, your attention, your expertise, the richer your own life becomes. Let's not overlook the impact on your inner life. Each time you go the extra mile, you reinforce a narrative of competence, kindness, and significance. You wake each morning with a sense of purpose. You end each day with the quiet satisfaction of having contributed something worthwhile, even if no one else noticed yet. In time, the law of increasing returns elevates your standards in every area. You expect more from yourself, and you invite those around you to do the same. The world may not always reward you in the way or the moment you desire, but it will never fail to recognize the person who gives freely, serves joyfully, and leads by example. So, continue your journey. Look for ways to exceed what is required, not for applause, but for the pleasure of knowing you did your best. Let your legacy be measured not just in results, but in the countless moments when you chose to give a little more. That is the true wealth. The law of increasing returns promises wealth of character, wealth of impact, and a life that grows ever richer with every extra effort. As you look back over the journey shaped by the law of increasing returns, you begin to notice how the world has changed around you because you have changed within. Every habit of going the extra mile, every gesture of service, every moment spent caring beyond obligation has left a trail of value that now marks your path. Success, you realize, is not an event, but a cumulative effect, a sum of countless small decisions to do more than required. Let's reflect on the confidence this law builds within you, where once you might have doubted your ability to stand out, you now know that your consistent efforts have made you irreplaceable. Clients and colleagues don't just remember your name, they remember the feeling you left them with, the solution you provided, the encouragement you offered when others remained silent. This emotional legacy is as real as any material reward and far more enduring. As you continue to operate from abundance, your world expands. New doors open sometimes from unexpected places. People seek you out for opportunities, partnerships, and friendships, not because you chased them, but because your value drew them naturally. The law of increasing returns turns you into a magnet for possibility. You don't have to be the loudest in the room, just the most consistent in service and character. One of the greatest gifts of this law is the ability to see potential everywhere. Challenges become invitations to contribute, not reasons to shrink. Failures are seen as necessary steps on the path to growth, not sources of shame. You stop waiting for life to reward you and start creating your own fortune through daily acts of extra effort. But never forget, the law is not transactional. You cannot give simply to get. The moment your motivation shifts from contribution to calculation, the magic begins to fade. The universe responds to authenticity to those who serve out of genuine desire to help, uplift, and create value. Paradoxically, the less you keep score, the higher your score becomes. Share your philosophy with others. Encourage your team, your friends, your family to adopt this mindset. Explain that while immediate results are never guaranteed, the compound effect over time is unstoppable. Help them see that every act of service is a seed that may take root in ways no one can predict. Above all, celebrate your journey. Every time you chose to exceed expectations, you became a little wiser, a little stronger, and a lot more valuable to the world around you. The law of increasing returns is not just a tool for building wealth, but for building a life of meaning, contribution, and lasting satisfaction. So, as you stand on the threshold of new challenges, trust in what you have built. Continue to invest in others, in your craft, and in your community, not for the reward, but for the joy of giving. In time, the world will return your efforts, multiplied and magnified beyond your wildest dreams. As you arrive at the end of this journey through the law of increasing returns, let me remind you, the greatest secret of achievement is not found in talent, luck, or circumstance, but in the steady practice of giving more than you receive. This law, simple yet profound, is the foundation upon which all lasting success is built. It is a principle that rewards the diligent, uplifts the generous, and transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary abundance. With every extra mile you walk, every problem you solve before it is asked, Every moment you invest in service, you set in motion forces far beyond your immediate understanding. You plant seeds that may lie dormant for seasons, but which inevitably spring to life often at the most unexpected times, in the most surprising ways. Never underestimate the ripple effect of your actions. You may never know whose life you changed with a kind word, whose opportunity you unlocked with a timely effort, whose hope you restored with your willingness to give. The true wealth of the law of increasing returns is measured not in bank accounts, but in legacies of character, relationships, and the quiet pride that comes from a life spent lifting others. This law is not about sacrifice or martyrdom. It is about purpose. When you act from a place of genuine contribution, you discover a joy and fulfillment that no paycheck can match. Work becomes more than a duty, it becomes a calling. Challenges become adventures, setbacks become stepping stones, and every new day is an invitation to create value where none existed before. There will always be voices urging you to hold back, to play it safe, to do only what is necessary, but remember, the extra mile is never crowded. It is walked only by those who trust the law, who believe in their ability to shape their future by shaping their habits. Let this law guide your actions, inspire your vision, and elevate your standard. Look for opportunities to serve, especially when you think no one is watching. Give your best not for applause, but because excellence is its own reward. In time, you will find that every sacrifice you made, every hour you invested, every bit of heart you put into your work has returned to you not in equal measure, but multiplied and overflowing. You are the architect of your own returns. Build generously, live abundantly, and let your life stand as proof that the law of increasing returns is real, unstoppable, and available to all who dare to give more than they receive. Go forth, serve boldly, give with joy, for the world is waiting not for those who do what's required, but for those who do what's exceptional. That is the legacy of the law of increasing returns.